Welcome back to the Infinite Goal podcast. You've got your host, Bre, and myself. And then today we have an amazing guest, Becky Aste, and she is a trauma-informed somatic relationship coach. There's a lot into that, but she basically helps women create breakthroughs in their lives. And it's awesome. We've been trying to get her on the podcast for a while, so we're stoked that we were able to get this and make it happen.
Locked in.
Locked and ready to go. She's also the host of Your Breakthrough Blueprint. It's a top 3% podcast in the world, so definitely go check it out, listen to it. She's got amazing content on there. Again, she's a somatic healing coach, specializes in helping women, and she's been coaching women for over 13 years. So she knows what she's talking about, and we're excited to have her on today.
Welcome, Becky.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be in your space. This is an honor.
Thanks again. So you've been coaching women for over 13 years. And then obviously before we got on, you mentioned that you've been really diving deep the last 3 years in this somatic healing. Can you explain a little bit to our listeners what that is?
Yeah, really easy explanation. Somatic just means pertaining to the body, especially in contrast to the mind. So we get into everything from the neck down, the nervous system, our survival responses, our patterns, the way that our body has kept the score of the things that we've survived, and that there's a way you can actually go into the body, move trauma out, release trauma from the body without just talking about it, rehashing details, thinking, speaking, all the neck up stuff that we're used to, going towards when we think
Yeah.
of trying to heal.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. And from there, you kind of were coaching women on and off for 10 years. And in these last 3 years, what made you kind of create that shift, or what made you shift into this more in-depth type of coaching?
I've always been so drawn to relationships. I mean, even just reality TV, I gravitate towards those shows that are so awful, right? Like The Bachelor and,
Yeah.
just reality shows, because I've been fascinated from as early as I can remember by human psychology and connection. And so even before I made this my full-time career, I was always doing it in some way or another, whether volunteer or on the side and working with women in codependency groups whose husbands dealt with addiction and mentoring and sponsoring. But in all of the knowledge that I gained over the years and all the things I knew and could tell others, I found my own marriage, year 10 of it, us separated on the verge of divorce, and our toxic dance had spun out of control. And I was exasperated. I didn't know what to make of it. I was like, I've done everything you can possibly do to heal a relationship and what they quote unquote say is going to help it. And here we are. How? So it was when we were actually moving towards divorce, and I was home alone, scrolling on Instagram, stumbled upon a coach who would end up being my first ever online coach. And I didn't know it at the time, but she would be my first introduction to somatic healing. And spoiler alert, that's what ended up taking our marriage from dying at the time to at first just getting a pulse and surviving, and then moving on to thriving. And so that's when I jumped ship and left my other career that I was successful in. It didn't make sense to leave, but this was the soul calling that I need to get this into the hands of other women, what I've found.
Oh, that's so good. You just had to listen to what your body was telling you. And it literally links up to what you were doing, what you're
Yeah,
what you're now
literally.
doing. It makes
Yes.
sense. All comes full circle.
I
So,
never had that connection. That was a good one.
right? So cool. I love that. And gosh, so I know you said you talked you handle a lot of women that are going through like their stuff with their marriages, but it's mainly focused on them. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so the type of woman that I love to work with, she is the high achiever. She's tried every healing modality known to man. She's invested the time, the money, the energy on counseling and therapy and books and podcasts, and it's really not for lack of effort that she feels stuck. So when she comes to me, I'm usually her last ditch effort. And she is typically the type, if you're speaking attachment language, for those who know that, the anxious type. So
Mhm.
just really wanting closeness, wanting connection, feels threatened by conflict, threatened by separation and distance, deep fear of abandonment. And her partner that she tends to be with, majority of the women I work with, is the more avoidant type. So he feels safer with space and independence, and too much intimacy actually triggers him. And so
Mm.
it's this fun cat and mouse chase and run
Interesting.
dynamic that I can relate to.
Mhm.
Wow. Okay, so and basically what you were able to you dove into your own relationship and then have in turn gotten to pour that into helping the other women with the same issues that you went through. So you're like,
Yeah.
got you. I went through this. This is what we're doing.
Yeah, yeah. You ask who my ideal client is, it's me on paper, where I was 3 years ago. Like, that's who I love to work with, and it's helpful that she has that tenacity and desire to do whatever it takes, but
Mhm.
so much of the work once she's inside is actually teaching her to release that in
Mm.
and of itself can be a coping mechanism, survival response that she's needed to survive everything she's gone through, but it's now time to slow down and to feel safety in her body and her spirit on the deepest subconscious spiritual level she's ever tasted.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, that's why they have the saying that you are the best person to help your old self.
Yeah, I was just thinking that
Yeah.
right as she was going into that. I'm like, huh.
So anybody that's going through everything that you went through, you are that best person to help them out with their next progress.
I love that so
Yeah.
much. Yeah, and it reminds me too, even some of the work that we do in sessions, whether group or one-on-one, is we'll get in touch with even our future self. Really like
Yep.
guided visualizations, some parts work, and meeting that future, higher, wiser, sage self, and seeing what wisdom she, in our case, working with women,
Mhm.
has to offer. And so it's powerful stuff.
I love that. What are some great tools that you recommend? Obviously, not going into too much detail as to everything you do, but what are like one or two great tools that you recommend to women at the very beginning on trying to work through those issues that they're going through?
Yeah, and I'm an open book. I'll
Yeah.
share whatever. I don't believe in gatekeeping, so ask me anything. Where we start with
Yes.
women is learning how to dissolve shame and embody radical self-acceptance and self-compassion right out the gate.
Yes.
Because these women are high achievers, that
Hmm.
also usually comes with a super loud inner critic,
Yes.
this internal voice that is kind of whipping her to move faster and like pull yourself up by your bootstraps and do better. And that's got her through a lot in life and in business, but it has actually been a repelling factor in her
Hmm.
relationship. And so she
Uh,
feels a lot of
Hmm.
shame for how did we even get here? My marriage isn't what I hoped it to be. I've made tons of mistakes. My husband, like, I can't talk to people about what's really going on. So that's the first place we start because it doesn't
Hmm.
matter how awesome the coaching and the nervous system tools are to follow. It's all going to go in one ear out the
Yeah.
other if you're spiraling in a shame storm.
what's a tactic that you help your clients get out of that when they are in the middle of that storm?
Something really simple that makes all of them roll their eyes because they're used to jumping through hoops and doing like they're looking for the next really hard, mind blowing, paradigm shifting thing. And one example of what I'll offer them is literally put your hand over your heart and practice speaking self compassionately to yourself. And for some, that's so
Yes.
foreign or it's just annoying to hear.
Mhm.
That was me. When my coach first said, "Wow, you have a really loud inner critic. Like, let's practice cultivating some actual physical touch, hand on your chest, self-compassion." I was like, "Are you kidding me? Did I just get to kindergarten class? Like, I paid how much for your program and this is what you're telling me?" But it was such a shift for me, and it's such a
Mm.
shift for these women who actually don't need to jump through this triathlon of a healing program. It's actually coming back to simplicity and back to things
Yes.
that literally children can practice.
Right. Oh, because simple is what was that saying that you said? Keep it simple, stupid?
Yeah.
There's some
Kiss.
yeah.
Kiss.
Huh?
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
kiss. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Keep it simple,
it's so
stupid.
good. I mean,
Back to the basics.
on the men's side of things, I am very much a go, go, go type of person. And I've realized also when I take in simple tactics and tools just to slow myself down, just to be more grounded, be more one with myself, it goes a long way with everything else going on. Like, it just slows you down. You're more present, you're more relaxed rather than kind of being, like you mentioned, anxious and all over the place with things. So I love that.
I love that. I actually never heard keep it simple, stupid. I was in
Yeah.
network marketing for years, and they said keep it simple, sweetie. So
Oh,
Oh,
no,
that's cute. I like that better.
we go deep on it. Yeah. The sweetie, I guess that's the nicer version.
That or I was like, when you said it that way, I thought it was supposed to be keep it uh keep it stupid simple. Like
Yeah.
having it
backwards,
be
Like,
like backwards, thinking it was having to be
like,
ridiculously the other way around.
yeah,
So I was like, well, yeah, just simple is easier, and everybody thinks it has to be this
yeah.
complex thing or these complex steps that you have to take.
yeah. So once they've gotten through that and they're more present, they're more one with themselves, what's like another tool or tactic to try to get them to, see the differences of people? Because like you mentioned, they're the women are in one way, the men are complete opposite, but they can still coincide together. How is that something that you kind of bring to light for them?
Yeah, we really start with the bottom up. And speaking just from a coaching perspective, there's top down therapy, which
Mhm.
is what we think of when we think of therapy: traditional talk therapy, couples counseling, the things we mentioned, like podcasts, books. That's all brain, right?
Mhm.
Cerebral. And so that's called top down. Somatic is different, it's bottom up. And so we actually start with the root, the literal base of the body. And so after we learn to dissolve shame, get out of the storm just enough where a woman feels safe enough to be like, oh, I can show myself and my weakness and my not pretty parts in this space, we get to work on the foundation and learning to establish safety again in our nervous system.
Mhm.
Most of them are caught in years or maybe even a lifetime of either fight, flight, freeze response. And
Mhm.
so it's learning to bring the body back from that survival response that was needed again
Mhm.
to get through whatever was necessary. But now they're so done and tired of surviving, they're ready to thrive again.
Mhm.
And so, what that looks like is just different depending on the client and the nervous system. But this is where I start to help them build their somatic toolbox of when I am in a fight response, what do I literally do?
Mhm.
Some women have a unique relationship with anger. We're conditioned to see it's bad, or we're like a crazy bitch if we have anger, and so we stuff it down, or it squeaks
Yeah.
out in ways that harms ourselves and others,
Mhm.
and then cue more shame. So instead, it's how can we release this from the body? If you're angry, we're going to try things like literally shaking it out, like shaking, discharging energy from the body, maybe screaming into a pillow, or a lot of my clients' favorite, the car. The car is like the female version of the man cave.
Yes.
Teaching them maybe sacred
Mm.
rage. And so, just depending on what the thing they're caught in
Mhm.
is, the goal is to help them taste at first
Mm.
safety and then expand their nervous system's capacity to stay there and go back there.
So we'll like basically setting an anchor. So like
Yeah.
setting an anchor, like where's the safe place? Like when I'm having a meltdown or a breakdown, this is the anchor that I need to go to so I could come back to my center, if you will. Is
That's
that
exactly the word.
Mhm.
Yeah, and the program I run, it's funny you say that, is root to rise. So
Mm.
we
oh,
root before anything. It's like no flower or plant or anything can grow, right?
right.
Without being planted in fertile soil
Mhm.
and rooted.
Yes.
So we start at the bottom before trying to build anything like the sexy stuff they come in wanting to learn. Like, teach me to
Yeah.
communicate better with my
Right.
husband and have a deeper intuition, relationship with that. And we gotta start with the root, the anchor. I love that.
Yeah. You're like, there's no magic sauce. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're starting at the root and we have to do
Yep,
the work to get up to the top.
exactly.
Love it.
What's one of the biggest uh, things, or I guess tactics, you'll tell somebody when they come into your program? Because we're high entrepreneurs as well, and again, for myself, I'm like, yeah, no, I need to get to here. Like, how do I just get to here? So how do you bring those women back to like, hey, I know you want to get to here, but there's no way you're gonna get to there from just jumping there. We have to start here because there's probably some people that will go through your program that are just trying to skip ahead so much. How do you kind of anchor them back down for somebody else out there who's really trying to be one with themselves?
Yeah, great question. And it is just a lot of empathy relating to them and inviting
Yeah.
them back to, right, the simplicity, the
Mhm.
home, the basics, the foundation, and validating the hell out of their frustration. Like,
Yes.
I get it. You're used to being a go getter and making stuff happen fast in life and achieving big things. And so, somatic work, I tell them, I set the expectation out of the gate. This is going to be a lot more subtle. Like the big breakthrough and the transformation isn't usually from this major, like cataclysmic earthquake that happens. It's
Yeah.
going to be these tiny, almost imperceivable shifts that
Mhm.
add up day to day and eventually reach this tipping point
Mhm.
where for so long you're going to wonder, am I ever going to get there? Until you
Mhm.
get to a place where you wonder, whoa, how did I get here? Like, I'm feeling new. I'm feeling lighter. I'm not checking his phone every second because I'm afraid who's texting him, or I'm not triggered by my kids the way that I used to. Like, starting to
Mhm.
anchor in those shifts, my job is to slow them down enough to see them because the
Mhm.
high achiever can pass over them really quickly.
Oh, yeah.
They're
For
like, "Oh,
sure.
that's nothing. Let's move on to the next problem." It's like, "Hold on, hold on." Like you said, anchor. Let's anchor that in and
Mhm.
expand that.
Love that. So you're helping them see their progress along the way. You're slowing them down because you're like, okay, you're going so fast. You're going to miss all the good stuff.
Yep.
This is what you've already accomplished. Look at where you're at. And then they look back, they get to look back and be like, wow, you're right. I need to slow down.
Yeah. In the words of your podcast, yeah, like recognizing the gold, those little
Mhm.
gold
Hmm.
nuggets, like don't miss over those because what you focus on, that's going to expand.
Yeah.
And so if
Yeah.
you're constantly focused on the problems and fixing, again, great skill set in business and things like
Yes.
Right.
that. But if in life, like if you want more joy, more ease, more peace, more connection, when those happen, it's
Hmm.
learning to how can I normalize this in my nervous system as, whoa, maybe good things can stay. Because that's another thing, too. A lot of these women have been through so much trauma, rug pulled
Uh-huh.
out from underneath of them. Their normal is chaos.
Mhm.
And the
Yeah.
nervous system is going to cling to what's familiar and
Right.
choose a familiar hell over a unfamiliar heaven any given day of the week.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we've gotta, when those unfamiliar good moments come up, like, start to normalize and feel safe with those.
Yeah. No, and I think it goes back to like the anchoring those joyful like moments and that they're able to go back to that and then start accumulating more of those joyful moments that gets them out of that darkness and now that darkness is old news.
Yeah, exactly.
She actually just brought up a great point. I didn't even think of it until just then, is the past to present. Obviously, we're dealing with a lot of individuals who have a past, whether or not it's good, bad. For you, a lot of the past is not good, and that's why they're coming to you. How do you break that cycle of, but here, but then this happened, and like always thinking of the past? Because unfortunately, with entrepreneurs, sometimes yes, we're very future focused, but our past is still in our back of our ear talking to us 24/7.
Yeah, this is exactly what trauma does is it keeps us, out of the present moment, and we're
Mhm.
either replaying the past or we're
Yeah.
future tripping about the future. But I mean, the most classic example I can think of is you think of war veterans with PTSD,
Mhm.
where
Mhm.
they could have been in combat 3 decades ago, but
Yeah.
fireworks go off 4th of July. They're reliving that now as if it's happening in this exact
Mhm.
moment. Like that is from 30 years ago.
Mhm.
But if it's living in the body, right? If our body keeps the score, it's going to keep replaying it out as if it's continuing to happen. So that's really common and probably
Mhm.
one of the biggest challenges these women's face because they have gone through significant ruptures or traumas, whether before the marriage or in the marriage. And so it's this fear of, is it even possible to move forward and repair after
Mm,
what, significant stuff is done? So the invitation is really to, again, have that toolbox of, this is what can bring me safely back into the present moment and into my body when I notice myself replaying the past and the
mm,
future, because it is an illusion of safety when we go to those things, anything outside of ourselves,
yes.
to try to
Yep.
Mhm.
feel safe.
Mm-hmm.
And the reality, the gold, the secret, which it's really intuitive once we actually start practicing it. The secret is, safety is only found right here in this
Yeah.
present moment, in our body, in our connection to self, connection to our God, whatever
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
word you use there.
Yeah.
This is where safety is actually found.
Yeah, no, I love that because tapping into your inner self and learning that you're your safe place, and you have to remind yourself of that. And then you were talking about the affirmations to get women to use to do that, and they're looking
Mhm.
at you like, "What?
Yeah.
Really?" But it works. I remember when I was going through postpartum with my daughter, and I struggled with that so hard, and then I had to start kind of reminding myself, "I'm in a safe place. This is
Mm.
just a phase. You got this. It's gonna be okay," but doing it in, like, front of the mirror, so I'm looking at myself. Have you ever done mirror work, and is that something that you ever encourage to your clients? I
I
was just
love
thinking
that you
about that
brought
because I
that up.
know not a lot of people talk about mirror work, or they think it's total, like, woo-woo. You know what I you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I love that. I've definitely done mirror work, and depending on the client, it can be really potent.
Mhm.
So for
Mhm.
some, that's too much,
Yeah.
Yeah.
too much, too fast, too soon. And so that's something that it's like, let's try it in sips
Mhm.
and tastes. And for
Yeah.
some women,
Yeah.
it might be trying it for a couple of seconds, being
Mm.
like, okay, that was literally enough for today. Because just depending on what they've been through, connection, even eye contact can feel threatening.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so at the same time, it's so potent once it does feel safe and you can learn to lean into it in a way
Yeah.
where you can still stay present. It's so healing, that connection to self.
Yeah.
Because to all the stories I've heard, all the crazy stuff women have gone through and things that have happened to them, they have every right to stay stuck in a victim energy. Like, they
Mhm.
are by definition victims in
Yeah.
many cases to
Mhm.
abuse,
Mhm.
abandonment, betrayal. Um, but they don't wanna stay there. They want to come out, and what I find underneath all of the hurt is actually the deepest wound that they all end up sharing, like, that hurts more than anything, is the self-abandonment. Like,
Oof.
sure,
Mm.
maybe I was abandoned by my family, my dad, my
Yeah.
husband, whatever. Maybe I was betrayed, but it's the self-betrayal, the way that I haven't spoken my truth or
Mhm.
protected myself or spoken up for myself. That's the deepest wound. So
Good.
mirror work is amazing for healing that at the right pace.
Yeah. Um, shoot, no, I was gonna say that how the self-abandonment, I think, is almost like the hardest or the harshest, like, work on yourself that really, like, attacks your body.
Yeah,
That
and it
being a
starts to show up in symptoms, like all these symptoms we've got now in modern day America. It's
Yes.
Yeah.
just it's a result of us not tuning into, listening to, or even like knowing the language of our own body, and that's not our fault.
Mhm.
We're
No.
not conditioned that way. I don't know
Right.
about you guys, but I didn't grow
No.
up with my parents being like, "What's your body telling you?" or saying like, "No."
No, I played ice hockey. It was the complete opposite. It
You're
was
like, "My
Right?
it
body
was it
tells
was
me
gonna
I'm
knock
hurting.
that guy out. "Oh, you're
Yeah,
hurt? Well, you should
Keep
ignore
going."
your body, and you're not hurt, and get back out there." "Oh, okay."
100%. 100%. Yeah, tough boys don't cry,
Mm-mm.
right? Like,
Yep.
get on over it, like, all of that. It was parents trying to teach us to be gritty and resilient,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
when you study even Brené Brown's work of shame resilience, the
Yeah.
most resilient people out there are the ones who are able to have empathy towards
Mhm.
Yes.
self, not, like, whipping themselves into shape.
Yeah. So you're referring to, gosh, Dar is it Daring Greatly? Is
Her or
Oh,
her
yeah.
or her
Uh,
other one.
I
Oh,
When
mean,
she
yeah.
her
taught,
work in general, but are you talking, what is
she
it, Daring
she
Bravely?
No,
daring greatly.
greatly, yeah.
Greatly?
Yeah,
Okay, I haven't
yeah.
read it.
She talks a lot about
Oof, so
shame.
good.
Yeah, that's her thing.
And breaking
She's
through it.
Yeah,
the
and
shame
breaking through it.
expert.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt.
Yes. No, she's good.
Now, question for you, because we talked a little bit beforehand, but can you explain to the women that, maybe wanting to go through your program and hearing about it, and let's just say they have that man on the other spectrum of things, but you have a course for them. I know you said it's not a one-on-one course, but can you elaborate a little bit more on that so that way they know, oh, okay, there is something that they can also get out of it as well?
Yes. Yeah. The program that I run, it's a group coaching program called Root to Rise. And it's a 3-month group program. If people want to add on a one-on-one portion, that's available too.
Hmm.
We don't want anyone to fall through the cracks.
Yeah.
But that's really the journey we started to talk about it that they go on, where dissolving shame, establishing safety in the nervous system, and then learning how to really confidently navigate triggers, stepping back into power for whatever has knocked them out of their power
Hmm.
in life, completing grief, learning to set
Ooh,
boundaries,
yeah.
communicate in an embodied, authentic way that's going to open the chances of it leading to connection.
Hmm.
And then, as the end of the journey comes near, it's repairing that corroded relationship with her own intuition and
Yeah.
healing any spiritual wounds is actually where we end on. So, a lot of
Mm.
women that come through have had either church hurt, religious trauma, spiritual abuse.
Um,
And I tell all of them before, you graduate, spread your wings and fly. I really want that piece of your life to
Yeah.
feel aligned and on
mhm.
straight, whatever that looks like for you.
Yeah.
But when I'm not around, right, I want you to know that you have yourself and you have your connection, your spiritual connection. And so that's kind of bird's eye view where we end. But yeah, it's an incredible community of women that I am in love with and inspired by every day. And
So awesome.
details I'm sure will be in the show notes if you want to,
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
We will definitely add it.
yeah.
Now is that a scheduled 3 month? So like people can't just join and
They can join anytime. Yeah,
okay.
it's open enrollment, so whenever fits her lifestyle.
Gotcha. Now, again, we like to throw some polarizing
Mhm.
questions out there every now and again. You mentioned the spiritualized side of it at the end. How do you communicate with some people who are just like, that ain't happening, or I'm not even on that spectrum of
When they
things, or
get that
nope,
resistance.
I don't like the religion, nope, I don't like the spiritual. Like, how do you kind of ground people that hey, it's still there, or do you kind of let them make that decision on their own?
Yeah, so going back to how you even introduced me at the beginning, you said trauma-informed somatic coach,
Hmm.
right? And the
Yep.
trauma-informed piece is really just putting the power into my clients' hands and
Hmm.
a lot of invitational language because part of the trauma is especially when it comes to spirituality, is they've been forced to do things and
Yes.
Mm,
it hasn't been good. That's been
Yeah.
my experience too. So it's really just, hey, I'm offering this whole buffet. Take what you want, leave what doesn't.
Hmm.
And
okay.
I'll say God because that's what I'm comfortable with, but
Yeah.
replace that with whatever
Mm.
term you want. So yeah, it is it's gotta be an inclusive, like that they feel permission to do whatever
Hmm.
they want with the information being offered.
You still there?
Yeah.
Oh, you're
Am I
back.
internet?
I don't know. It was either yours or ours, but we're back and we're still going. We'll
You
just
just took
edit.
a
We'll
good
just we'll
pause,
just edit that.
pregnancy pause.
Yeah, we'll just edit. Exactly. We'll just edit that portion. It'll be perfectly fine.
Cool.
Cool.
But no, you ended that one really good.
Nope, go for it.
And so they come into your program, they do the 3 months, and they get that spiritualized stuff at the very end. What's usually kind of like the next steps you recommend to them, provide to them, or what's the route that they usually will go after that?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's so
Hmm.
individualized. They'll have a graduation call with a member of my team just to really hear like let's anchor in the wins again, let's
Yeah.
anchor in all the breakthroughs, but also we want you to be set up for whatever the next best aligned steps are.
Hmm.
So it's totally a mix. Some decide they want to extend their time in the program. After that, they feel like they've gotten significant breakthrough, but just have loved the support and want to continue a little longer. Some come into specific clients, I have an invitation into another private program, and that's not for everyone, but just depending on where she's at, if that's an aligned fit, I'll personally invite her. And then other times it's just, all right, you're good to go. Like, go have
Yeah.
fun, live
Yeah.
life, stay in touch, keep me posted, and I'll see you on Instagram.
Yeah.
So all of that's very individualized.
That's cool. Oh my gosh. It sounds like you are just changing lives one day at a time for all
Yeah,
these
nobody's asked
women.
me that last question. I loved that one.
Yeah.
I
Kind of
feel it's a good
follow
question.
through to that question is what's been the most fun in this journey of yours from the deep depths that you were at one point with your marriage to where you are right now?
So what's been the most fun for me
Yeah.
personally?
Yeah.
Oh gosh, probably just reclaiming the play. When I think of my honeymoon, we were in Dominican
Yes.
Republic and we played hide and seek. I was like, never did I
Yes.
imagine,
That
such
is
like
awesome.
I love it.
childlike play. And so we were so playful and pranked each other all the time. And when we went through all the rupture, the darkness and everything, we weren't laughing anymore. We definitely weren't playing. We weren't pranking. And so because that's who we are by nature, to have that reclaimed has been everything. And now we've got kids. And so having them, being playful with them, but just the silliness back, the banter, the childlikeness has just been everything for me.
That's awesome. Well, because you like reignited that flame that you guys had, and you brought it back to life, and you were able to be like your childlike selves with each other, and be like, "This is what it's about. This is where
Yeah.
we're supposed to be." That is so cool. I love that for you.
Thank
A
you.
little good follow-up question to that is you brought up kids. Did the kids portion have anything to do with you guys falling off? How does the kids play into all of that? Because we have a lot of
Yeah.
families on the podcast listening, and they're going through maybe some tough times because the kids take up a lot of the time, or the kids all the focus is on them.
100%. Some of the trends I see of like a make or break point for couples is around year 10 of marriage and also when the kids are young. So for us, it was that. It was year 10 of marriage. The kids were, how old were they? They were like 3 and 1 at the
Yeah.
time. Um, no, more like 4 and 2. I can't even remember now. Literally, that time is such a blur. Like I told you, I'm bad with dates.
Yeah.
But my son was old enough to be like, "Where's dad?" And me feeling like that just tore my soul apart. Like I think every mom's biggest fear is, I don't want to traumatize my kids. I don't want us to pass our junk down onto my kids. I want better for them. And so I didn't handle everything perfectly. I just remember trying to stay present and be there for my kids while I'm feeling like I'm drowning. I mean, it's just not
Yeah.
easy.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
So
Nope.
I'd say it was being a parent it unlocks this new level of joy, but also a next level of stress that if you don't have the rooted, nervous system
There it
capacity to
is.
hold expanded levels, it's going to
Yes.
rock you. And it totally rocked us, but it was also a motivation for me to give it every last shot that I could because I loved our family and
Yeah.
I didn't want that for us, for them.
Mhm.
And so that's how I'd answer that.
No, I love that.
That's so good. Yeah. What would last thing that we'd like to tie up at the end of our podcast interviews are what are 3 golden nuggets that you would share with our listeners based off of what you coach?
I love that. So after this episode, I'll keep it simple, stupid. I would say 3 nuggets is 1, start with practicing this week, even just a little bit more self-compassion, whatever you're going
Yes.
through.
Good.
Try the
So
hand over
good.
heart, even if you're rolling your eyes doing it.
Just
Um, from there, would encourage you just to get curious about your body and your symptoms. You don't have to know the
yeah.
language of your body yet or know how to move trauma out, but just even noticing and recognizing and getting curious, that's a step towards coming home, right? To
Yeah.
yourself and being with yourself instead of self-abandoning. And then third nugget is I would just say podcasts are great. I love podcasting, I love being on podcasts. Books are amazing. I'm such a reader, coaching, therapy, all of it's amazing, but truly your internal compass and your unique blueprint is the best direction and guidance that you've got, navigating like what your next best steps are. So I just say that to those who are desperate for answers and how easy it is to cling to other people's opinions. But my invitation would just be to get really curious, to tune into your own intuition, your own God, your own, quiet whisper of the best next steps for your life and relationship.
That's so good. Yay. Thank you for sharing. Oh my
Yeah, I
gosh.
love that. Becky, thank you again for being on our podcast. We truly appreciate it. Everybody listening, definitely check out your Breakthrough Blueprint. It's a great podcast. Even though she said don't listen to all the podcasts, you got to listen to hers because it's going to create those tools so that way you can center yourself, be more grounded, and understand kind of some of the traumas or things that you've been going through. Follow her on Instagram. She's awesome. And then again, don't forget to follow us, like everything, comment. If you have any questions, concerns, feel free to reach out to us. We're here for you. We just want you to grow, be stronger, and thank you again for listening. Take care.
Thank you.